my gosh. As soon as I want to record, then my background just falls on me. Great. Just great. Just great. I hate my life. Why? Why do you have to be like this? Oh! I try my best. Can't do this anymore. Should I screw it into the ceiling? Am I that desperate? We interrupt your scheduled programming to show you Lily's little outfit. Come here, Lily. Good. She's a pirate. She also had a sword and this little parrot. I wanted to show you guys too that my new merch, remember the Culty Crew merch? I was really excited about dropping it. My little cousin Jana helped me create this, as well as a member of the Culty Crew. So we have white. This is a size large. Now, I didn't know that a size small, medium, and large was gonna run so small. I thought that I should show you guys, just so you're not like ordering it and being like, what the hell? Definitely gonna have to get some bigger sizes. And I thank you so much to my little cousin Jana and the member of the Culty Crew that helped me. You know who you are. Size large in the Culty Crew shirt, right? This is a size large in the Kyle Grant shirt. Culty Crew also helped make this. Love you guys.
I just got done editing this entire video and I found a clip of Tom Green trying to court his son's girlfriend, and I have to show it to you before you watch anything else.
He's falling in love. He's what we call La La Land.
Can you show us a picture of your girlfriend? Tell us what her name is.
Yes, I only got this picture. She gave it to me. Her name's Candace.
This is my courting shirt. I bought it 2 weeks ago so that when Candace comes to visit, I could look nice. My wives all told me, get something nice so that you'll make an impression.
What is that, Candace?
It really tickles me that my wives are concerned about me making a good impression on her because they like her and they hope that she'll choose to join our family. When she's 17, then I would be able to take her as a wife without having serious problems with the law, even though this lifestyle is still illegal here in Utah.
Do you worry that his heart will be broken?
Yes, I'm concerned that it could be, but I think that if he loved her enough, that he would want her to do what she wanted and be happy.
It's only lately, in fact, after she turned 16, that she began to show an interest in the family in a different way than she had before. She's begun to flirt with me a little, and it's kind of fun. The time may come when I have a wife that's younger than the children that we have here.
Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amanda Ray, and when I was 17, almost 18 years old, I left a polygamous group known as The Order. I was born and raised in it. My dad has 3 wives. First wife's my mom's sister, third wife's my dad's half-sister. If you want to hear more about that, you can click the link down below. I have my entire story filmed. Today we're doing the very last episode for October on Halloween. Creepy stories from my cult. That's the last one. And if you're on the podcast, you might want to watch the video because I'm turning myself into Medusa. This story is about a creepy man. A creepy man. I know, that's like all of my other videos, but this one is especially weird because we're gonna be talking about Tom Green. No, we're not talking about the Canadian comedian, the comedian from Canada. No, we're talking about the polygamist who went to prison for raping a 13-year-old. We're talking about that one. Not a lot of people talks about it. So we're going to be talking about it. The reason why it correlates with my cult is because Tom Green was buddies with my cult and ended up joining the Order. My cult. He fits right in. Anyway, we're going to be talking about his prison time. We're going to be talking about how his own son went to jail for raping a 13-year-old. Yeah, the raping runs deep. Sorry, this is probably going to get demonetized because I'm not going to hold back. But we're going to have some weird shading until the sun's completely gone. I wanted to practice this video before doing it. I was gonna practice and then I didn't. Anyway, so Tom Green, I had to listen to hours of him talking. Literally like hours of him talking. Now you guys have to watch it. Tom Green was born June 9th, 1948. He was born in a LDS family. He was very deep into the LDS community. He even went on a mission. And when he came back from his mission, he got married in the LDS temple marriage. Yay. You know, I really should have practiced this look before doing it on. Whatever. So Tom Green's part of the LDS faith. He's very integrated in it. He goes on a mission. He comes back and gets married in the LDS temple. He starts to research polygamy because he's very, you know, well aware of the LDS teachings. He wants to learn more, so he wants to, I guess he just really liked the idea of polygamy. Because for me, listening to his story, I'm like, he was obsessed with the idea of polygamy. He just wanted multiple wives. That's what he wanted. Because you could get obsessed with the idea of consecration. You could get obsessed with the idea of no coffee and no alcohol. You know, there's so many rules in the LDS community. Couldn't you get obsessed with anything other than polygamy? Anyway, it just like boggles my mind that he's like the type of guy that's like never wrong, you know, like I'm searching for the truth and you guys are wrong and you guys are wrong and you guys are wrong and I am right, you know? So he starts researching the LDS faith further and further, and he starts to learn about the law of polygamy that Joseph Smith, if you're not aware, the LDS faith believed in polygamy at one point. Joseph Smith, the leader, the founder of the LDS community, lived polygamy. I think it was known that he had at least like 30 wives, one as young as like 14, and the oldest one was like 80. You can look it up on LDS.org if you don't believe me.
So I tried to find the pages that it shows on LDS.org where Joseph Smith has like a 14-year-old wife and his oldest wife. Like there's a whole page on it, but every time I try to click in it, then it shows me this blank page. Does anyone else have this issue? Is this just me? Am I like blocked and boycotted from their account? Let me know.
Yeah, so Tom Green's learning about that and he's like, ooh, that sounds nice. Ooh, polygamy, woohoo. Loves the idea of multiple wives. So he's like researching polygamy for the name of the Lord, obviously. He has 3 kids with his wife. Poor girl, right? Like you marry this guy and you're like, yay, I'm gonna get married and go to heaven with this guy. And then he's like, actually, I don't think we can go to heaven unless I boink some of the bitches. So he has 3 kids with her. And then he's like, I don't know exactly what happened, but he gets excommunicated from the LDS church for like researching polygamy. I don't know exactly what it was. I mean, I can imagine, but boom, excommunicated. And I heard this from his family, his own family, so I'm not just making it up. So he gets excommunicated around the same time. His wife leaves him and takes the 3 kids. When Tom Green lost his family, but he's gonna keep searching for polygamy to serve the Lord the way that he must, because he's just a man of God. So he's only in his 30s and he loses his wife and his 3 kids, and he gets excommunicated from the church. So after losing his family, I think he moves back in with his mom. If the story doesn't get any worse, how humiliating. He moves back in with his mother. I wonder if Tom's mom is like proud of him, because like if I was his mom, I would just disown him. If I was his mom, I would just be like, what are you doing? Is this like really worth it to you? Like really? He doesn't let losing his wife and children discourage him. He continues to pursue and look for this true polygamy church, right? He's looking for a church that lives the true gospel. So he stumbles across this group called, like they're known as the Peterson group, which I did not know of. I did not know of until I did my research on this. He joins the Peterson group, and let me just tell you guys a little bit about the Peterson group really quick. The Peterson group is known as the righteous branch of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So that's why they call it the Peterson group, because that's a mouthful. But apparently, do you guys remember my video where I talked about it's called the Blood Atonement Cult? I'm pretty sure it's called that, the LeBaron group. So you guys remember how I talked about how the LeBaron, the leader of the AUB group, gets murdered by one of the two of the LeBarons. Okay, this is gonna be hard to explain. I had to turn the camera off for a second. This is gonna be a mouthful, so listen, and I'll try to put like pictures so that you can like understand what I'm saying. The LeBaron group, they believe in I'm already messing up. They believe in the blood atonement, which is if you are going to break the Lord's rules, like let's say you're not going to church on Sunday or you're preaching false prophecies, the blood atonement says you can kill someone to save them, because you can save them from sinning by killing them. So it's better for them to just die now rather than sin and go to hell. So the LeBaron group, the blood atonement group, following along, the leader of the LeBaron group decides, you know what? The leader of the AUB group, he's not teaching true prophecies. He's a false prophet. So we need to kill him now. Whoa! Whoa! And he tells his wives that. He says, we need to kill him. And if you ladies they probably felt like scared that if they said no, then they were gonna die too. The young ladies went into the dental office that the AUB leader was working at, and they shot him, and he died. After he dies, the Peterson group is born. Because, now listen closely, because this one is also a doozy, okay? So a man named Gerald Wilbur Peterson, he claimed that the leader of the AUB group, his name's Rulon Allred, this Peterson guy claimed that after Rulon Allred died, he came to him, this Gerald guy, he came to him in a dream and gave him the keys to be the new leader of the new work of God, right? So he leaves the AUB group. And the AUB group still exists today, you guys. The AUB group is the one that Cody Brown is a part of. Are you getting confused? But we don't have to really keep track of the Peterson group. I mean, they started April 6, 1978, and they only have like 100 to 200 members, so they're dying off. But yeah, they are the true church. The AUB church is wrong, you guys, just so you know. When Rulon died, he gave the keys to Gerald. This whole story like just sounds like a bunch of mental illness or narcissism, one of the two. Why you popping off me like that, huh? Hi, I'm back. I put my contacts in and I started crying, which is good because now I can put the like tear cries down. Tom Green joins the Peterson group, and then shortly after that he realizes it's not the true church of God. It just isn't. So he leaves yet again. And at this time, he knows about the Kingston group. So he knows about my polygamous group. He knows my grandpa Ortel. You guys are gonna hear him talking about Ortel a lot. I don't know why he never joined the order back in the day. Maybe he didn't agree with the order back in the day. I don't know. Leaves the Peterson group. Meanwhile, a young lady named Beth, unfortunately, crosses paths with Tom Green. Beth has a child, a 13-year-old daughter named Linda. Tom Green fancies Beth, and they end up getting married. I'm pretty sure just like FYI, all of Tom Green's wives that he marries, pretty sure all of them came from like some branch off of some polygamous group. No one in their right mind would marry him. Guess what happens after he marries Beth? He sees an opportunity to marry Beth's 13-year-old daughter. Yep, he marries Linda at 13 years old. Shortly after marrying Linda, he gets her pregnant. And now we get into the time of his life that he spends in prison. Now, I want you guys to hear what Tom Green has to say about the fact that he raped a 13-year-old and got her pregnant. Let's just listen to this sick father mucker how's about.
The charge of rape of a child is extremely serious. The way it's being used is not how the law was meant. It was meant for somebody that goes and takes advantage of a child. It's not meant for somebody who builds a marriage.
So, as long as you marry your victim, then you're good. As long as you marry the 13-year-old, then you shouldn't go to prison. He's one of those guys that's just never wrong. Let's listen to the narcissist a little bit more, shall we?
This room is my bedroom. And I spend all my nights here. Each wife comes here according to their own schedule and spends their time with me.
Okay, can you imagine sharing the bed that you had to, at least like my mom, where they have a separate home, so they can pretend that they're at least normal, can pretend that they can at least be a little bit sane. They're sisters too. A lot of them are sisters, and a lot of them like mother-daughter duos. It's so gross. Okay, listen to this.
The only furniture I really have in here is my armoire. You may notice there's 7 drawers, so there's room for 2 more wives there if things happen that way.
How would you feel too being a wife to that? Like, there's room for 2 more wives because this isn't enough. And this is also the time that he's like living on this trailer park with all of his wives. These poor women, they just have to like live in poverty on this trailer park because the Lord, whatever. It's just a guy who's horny. Let's just face it. A guy who's horny who was like, oh, thank goodness I found the law of polygamy because I already wanted to do it.
Also, I just noticed while editing, is he holding a cup of coffee? Because that is a big no-no in the LDS community. That's a big no-no in like Joseph Smith's teaching. It goes against the word of wisdom. If you really believed in the true teachings of the Lord, why would you be sitting on your trailer park drinking a cup of coffee with all your bitches?
Can you guys tell I get triggered with this? Well, I do. You'll see too when you like hear him talk more, it's just like, you know those people who just they can't read the room, they can't tell that like they're boring the entire audience, they're boring their wife, they're boring their sons, they're boring their daughters, they're boring. No one wants to hear it. It's like this.
Brother Paul and Brother Daniel here, they used to come to my home with their father, and their father's gone now. I treasure the opportunities I had of visiting with their father. I even told Brother Daniel that I had interviewed his father on cassette, and unfortunately, Brother Daniel, I can't find those cassettes. I went back out to where we lived before I went to prison, and I had them in a cassette case, and I think somebody came and plundered the house. And I had several hours of interviews about history with Brother Artell. He told me stories that his father, Brother C.W. Kingston, had told him. He told me a story that his father told him about working on the railroad in Idaho Falls with another man whose daughter had become the plural wife of a stake president. Well, in the early 1920s, I just want to tell you all that I'm surprised and grateful for this opportunity to speak to you and share these stories. As I was walking up here, I thought I totally didn't expect this. I have nothing to say.
He does though.
When I realized that you have to follow the Spirit and you have to kind of go where the Spirit leads you.
I didn't know this, but because I did this video, I was researching a lot about Tom Green, and I found that his son, his 18-year-old son, was convicted for 2 counts of rape of a 13-year-old. So he takes after his father, apparently. And obviously, like, if the kid's dad did it, why the hell would he think it was wrong? But I found these mugshots of Tom Green's son, and like these poor kids that are all Tom Green's kids, like growing up with such a dysfunctional view of life. Like he's just like that. He's teaching like, oh well, it's not bad because the Lord said, and as long as you're marrying them, but it's like a 13-year-old is not supposed to be getting pregnant and having kids. Okay, stop saying that God wants that. Just stop. Side note, you guys, this is my friend's lipstick company. I'm gonna be doing a little commercial for it. It's called Black Crown Cosmetics. I love her products. Sorry. Black Crown Cosmetics. She has like lip liners, lipsticks, and it's a really good price, a really good deal. And it's like cruelty-free vegan, so if you are interested, I will leave the link to her lip stuff down below. Sorry, I know I keep getting distracted. Can you even see the full headpiece? You can't even see the full thing. Hello? Hello? I worked so hard on it. It's not even that good. Okay. While Tom Green's in prison, one of his wives leaves him with her children, takes her kids with, which rightfully so. I would too. I probably would have just never married him in the first place, but you're probably thinking that anyway, so I'm not going to scold you about it. Tom Green had 35 kids amongst 7 wives. 34 living children. Married 2 sets of mother-daughters. Tom Green joins the order towards the end of his life. He receives the number 269. Now, the reason why he receives the number 269 is because Daniel Jr. is number 69, and he's the one who ends up marrying all of Tom Green's wives when Tom Green dies of COVID. Yeah, it was actually pretty recent that Tom Green died. Tom talks about how he was like good friends with Daniel, which red flag! Anyone who's good friends with Daniel, they're toxic. Because he liked Daniel so much, he wanted his family to be around Daniel's family. And so eventually when he died of COVID, his wives just remarried to Daniel Jr. to become his wives. So Daniel Jr.'s number is 69, which is why Tom Green got the number 269. I don't know if they like agreed that when I die, you're gonna take my wife. I don't know. Wasn't there. Happy that I wasn't there. Now, what's interesting is Tom Green has 12 kids that like believe in polygamy. And of all of his kids that joined the order, all of the daughters married, but none of the sons. Isn't that alarming? Isn't that shocking? None of the boys got married to an order girl except one because they ran away together. Like they left together. Shocking, right? Not really, because the order is known to only take women, and they don't want your men unless your men are going to work for them, but they're not going to give you a wife. So he has 35 children with 7 different women, but one passed away, so there's 34 living. Amongst his entire life, through his entire life, he did marry 10 women. So yeah, died of COVID, and then his wives were all remarried to Daniel Jr. And I heard too that this is just what I heard through the grapevine, they had a large lump sum of money that they brought to join. I don't know. But yeah, the order like voted on him to join. I was also told that he was having meetings with Paul about like garments and like what type of stuff the church should be doing. And they would like have meetings about these things that the LDS church does and that the order should be doing. And when he was buried, I'm pretty sure he was buried in his own garments, because when you die in the order, you are buried in the order garments. I think Tom Green wanted to be buried in his own garments, which is interesting. I really am Tom Greened out today. So maybe I'll edit and have some of the good key points in his talk in this video, and you guys can watch it. If you want to. I don't know why you would want to, but you can. I had a lot of you guys being like, when is the Tom Green story coming out? I want to hear his talk. So this is his talk, and I'm cutting out the boring parts, and oh my gosh, there's so many boring parts. But if you're interested in the entire uncut version of his talk, I will do that. Sorry, Lily's in here. Does Lily want to say hi? She was a pirate. I will do that for you. I will edit and post the full talk of Tom Green talking at the order meetings, if you would like. Let me know in the comments down below. But I'm gonna leave, and you guys can listen to him jibba jabba if you would like. Bye-bye.
But I appreciate the privilege of being here and the privilege of being a member of this work. I ask the blessings of the Lord to be over each and every one of us. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. From time to time, I know in the past we had the opportunity to have visitors come to our meetings, and as a young person, I always appreciated hearing them speak. I don't know, Brother Tom, would you want to speak to us today? I probably should have warned you. I didn't. If you'd like to. There's some interesting history, and I know Brother Tom can explain a few of the things that he's involved in now, but some interesting history with the LeBaron family and the order. Adair LeBaron actually attended the 1940 meeting, and some interesting history surrounds that attendance. But we'll go ahead and ask Brother Tom to speak to us.
I just assumed all morning that Brother Paul couldn't see me back there. And I was quite comfortable because I was certain this would never happen. This is only the second time that I've attended a order meeting. And I've been acquainted with Brother Paul, some of his brothers, and with Brother Artell for nearly 35 years. And I've been curious about their meetings that whole time. After I got out of prison in 2007, I wanted to take my family to see this cabin. I wanted them to understand their heritage and their history. You had a great uncle that had to run away from the United States and go to Canada to keep from being arrested for being a polygamist. He says, yeah, I'm familiar with that. And I said, well, they traveled with just one other family. That was my great-grandfather. I said, there was a time when our families were working close together to keep the principle of plural marriage alive. I would go and visit with Brother Artell in his office, and he would tell me some of the stories of the history of the order. He told me about a time when the order was opening a store in a place, as I recall at the time, it was called Dragerton. I think it's called East Carbon now. And I don't know how long ago this was, but he told me that the founders of the order
kind of had an understanding with the leaders of the church back in the 1930s or 40s that they would not interfere with each other's work, that they would not speak ill of each other, that they wouldn't bother each other, that they would respect what each other were doing. But by the time this store was opened by the order in Dragerton, a Mormon apostle, who I later learned in doing research with Knut Knudsen, he had been the editor of the Deseret News. His name was Marky Peterson, and I think he really wanted to be an apostle because he hired a journalism student from BYU to follow the apostles around to see if any of them had more than one wife. And they got the goods on one of the apostles, Apostle Richard Roswell Lyman, in 1942. They got the police chief, Vetterly of Salt Lake, who was not a Mormon, and some of his police officers, and a couple of the LDS apostles, and they went and broke down the door of Richard Lyman's plural wife's home. And there was Richard Lyman in his late 70s and his plural wife. He was reading the paper and she was darning socks, and they said, "Aha, you are committing adultery." And so Marky Peterson published in the newspaper that a Mormon apostle has been found committing adultery. In fact, when I was speaking with some of the church leaders years ago trying to find out about this information, Henry Richards, who was a cousin to Stephen L. Richards, one of the apostles that was there, he said, it was just so heartbreaking. We found out that Brother Lyman, who was one of the most spiritual apostles we had, whenever he spoke, people just felt the Spirit. But then we found out that he'd been committing adultery for 20 years with the same woman. But I've since seen a letter that Richard Lyman wrote in the early 1960s to his nephew, who was a physician in Delta, Utah, explaining that this was his plural wife, that she'd been sealed by proper authority by a previous Mormon apostle back in the 1920s, and that he understood that she would be his wife in eternity. And some of the people in the All Red group told me that David O. McKay had been a polygamist, and I just didn't believe it. But then we asked Edwin B. Firmage. He told us that for a year and a half before his grandfather died, he interviewed his grandfather and published his grandfather's autobiography. And we said, did you ever hear any rumors that President McKay had a plural wife? He said, I had heard those rumors. And so I asked my grandfather if he'd ever heard those rumors. And his grandfather, who had been David O. McKay's first counselor, said, and this is a quote, he said, "I and the other brethren," meaning the other general authorities, "always understood that President McKay's secretary, Claire Middlemiss, was his plural wife." Even though I was about to go to prison for living the principle, my cousin in Canada, my oldest cousin, when I was being prosecuted, she communicated with me by email, and she said, "I don't understand why the state is bothering you." The church had given my first wife enough money and help to leave me. So my first wife and my 3 children were taken away from me, in essence, by various church leaders. My own stake president sat right in front of my wife and I and told my wife if she didn't leave me, she was going to go to hell and never have her children in eternity. And they succeeded in taking her away from me. And Henry Richards helped her. He gave her money to do that. And so I guess the things that I told you about today are the things that the Spirit brought to my mind to share with you. But I have to tell you that it feels good to be here. My wife Shirley was raised in Colorado City, and she has a lot of resentment about Colorado City and the way that things were operated there. And as a result of that, she has become somebody really resistant to, I should say organization, more so than authority, because she's an extremely loyal and devoted wife. But last week, when we sat back here, towards the end of the meeting, before we separated for classes, I leaned over to her and, I'd watched her noticing the people in the congregation. And I said, Shirley, does this remind you of Colorado City? And she said, well, kind of, but it's different than Colorado City. And I said, how's it different? And she said, I can tell that people here have freedom to be who they want to be, freedom to be who they are. And she said, maybe that's why they stay. Maybe that's why they're still here. And in fact, she always is quite outspoken. I'll just bear you my testimony of the work of the Lord and of the truthfulness and correctness of the principles of God, and that they're worth standing up for no matter what it costs you. I express my love and gratitude to the people here today and the opportunity we've had of being invited to attend your meetings with you. I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Was that boring? I know, I told you it was gonna be boring. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this last episode of Creepy Stories from My Cult, and I will see you guys in the next episode of Culty Cup of Coffee. Bye!